Right. Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Excuse me. Something popped in my head as soon as I started. Yeah, good morning. Hope everyone had a great weekend. So today I wanted to talk about a couple of things. A question that someone had asked me, and it ties into a whole bunch of other things. So I'm not sure if I'll get into it, but if it leads to that place, then it leads to that place. So the question that was asked to me is, how do you feel worthy? If you're living a life where you're experiencing a great deal of abuse from your friends, from your family, from your coworkers, from people all around, it doesn't matter who it is, because if you have it within you, you're going to experience through those who you have contact with, and it doesn't matter the relationship. It's going to present itself. But the only reason why it presents itself is because there is no self-love there, meaning you don't feel worthy of love. Therefore, you cannot experience the loving things that you want to experience, because you have a belief within you that is causing all these different effects to happen that you, in your mind, consciously don't want to experience. The pain. You don't want to experience the pain. That's what you don't want to experience. But you have to experience it to let you know that there's something inside you that needs to be removed. And the whole reason why this is because we come from a place of love. We are creations of the Creator. And the Creator is love. Therefore, we were made in love. That's what we were made of. And we are intended to have that dwell within ourselves, in our soul. That is what we are supposed to have. Meaning, not supposed to like you have to, but that's the way we were designed. That is the way the system was designed. This is how the Creator created our souls, to have love within it. And anytime we don't have love within it, then there's these things that happen so that the program, the program, can correct itself. We are the program. We have been programmed with love. That is our foundation. That is what we are. That's what we are intended to express. Is this my coworker? Oh, wow. I didn't know he lived way out here, too. Is that my coworker? Let me see. Indeed it is. How funny. I never knew he traveled the same distance as I did. And he can't hear me. He's listening to his music or talk radio anyway. Oh gosh, every time. So anyway, that's the reason why we have these experiences that we have, is because everything is designed to let us know that, hey, there's something unloving within you. But the only way you can make sense of this is if you know you're a soul. If you know that you are a soul, an energetic being, that's what we are. Consciousness. Something that you cannot see with the physical eyes, but on the other side of the veil you can be seen. Absolutely. We just can't see it with our physical eyes. But we can see it with our spirit body eyes. We can see it. And then as a soul, you can see much more than what the physical body, the spirit body can see. This is the only way, people. Everything that I talk about, look, I don't know what you people are doing. Everything that I talk about is always related to your soul. I don't speak my truth. I speak a different truth. The truth that is an absolute truth. It's not mine, trust me. I have different beliefs and ideas that I live by, which causes me to do things that I really don't want to happen. So all the things that I'm talking about, I know where it comes from. I know the root of it. But it's not my truth. It's an absolute truth. And there's a huge difference. And if you're a Christian, then you would know what Jesus represented. Jesus was just a man. But what he did know, what he did realize, was divine truth. Absolute truth. That's what he knew. And that's what he shared. And so there was these posts that were going on yesterday, and it's about Jesus and how Jesus didn't do this or didn't do that, and everything is being taken from the Bible in terms of what Jesus said and what he didn't say. But the interesting thing about it is, in the process of trying to debunk the Bible and what is supposedly that is written in there that Jesus supposedly said, they don't agree with it. So if you don't agree with it, why would you use it as an argument? The thing is, Jesus did not say a lot of the things that are in the Bible. He didn't represent a great deal of the things that are written in the Bible that are attributed to his words. Those are not his words, not all of them. If you know anything about the Bible or anything about Jesus, actually not the Bible, just Jesus and what he represented, then he represented love. And anything outside of that is bullshit. Plain and simple, bullshit. But if you know what love is, if you know what God is, then you know that it is all loving. And anything outside of that is BS. It's bullshit. There's just no other way to look at it. You have to use logic here. And the person who's doing this claims to use logic, but they're not using logic at all. So it's but why, let's go there. Why do people not use logic sometimes but apply it in others? It's due to fear. Fear is the only thing that will allow or disallow logic to be used. Fear of what? Fear of being wrong. That's the biggest thing. If I'm wrong and I've been saying something, then that's going to make me look bad. If I'm teaching something and I realize that I'm wrong, then other people are going to ridicule me. This is the fear that disallows divine truth to be absorbed. This is the difference between personal truth and divine truth. As human beings, it got foggy real quick. As human beings, we have this scale that we teeter on. And the scale is basically, how would I put this? Give me a moment, I need to think about this for a moment. Okay, let's go with the scale of pain and pleasure. We, as human beings, try to avoid pain at all costs. So therefore, we will reject anything that causes us pain. And sometimes that pain comes from us recognizing truth. That's where a lot of pain comes from. This is why people do not want to go there in terms of emotions. This is why people will not go to a place to heal themselves, because they have to acknowledge the truth, which will cause them pain. So what they do is they subscribe to other things that bring them pleasure. And so they will buy into something, or they will accept truth that doesn't push them too far. They will only accept truth that will not challenge their beliefs, because the beliefs bring them pleasure. That's what beliefs do. Your beliefs bring you pleasure. That's all that it is. But these are your personal truths. These are your personal beliefs. It has nothing to do with absolute love. Has nothing to do with absolute truth. It has nothing to do with God. Has nothing to do with that. These are your own personal truths that you teeter on this scale to keep a balance. Because if you experience too much pleasure, then you feel you're doing something wrong, and you got to tip the scale back the other way. Think about this. Think about it. How many of you experience pleasurable things, and when it begins to, or when you decide or feel that it's too much, you're like, oh, I can't, have to stop doing this because I'm being greedy, or I'm being this, or I'm being that. You have to tip the scale back, and so you take away the pleasure. You stop doing what you're doing so that you no longer feel the pleasure that you were feeling. It's no different. This is the same. This is everything that we do is based on this scale. Pleasure and pain. But we do everything to keep ourselves away from pain. But we also keep ourselves away from pleasure. if it's experienced too much. So there's this balance. But here's the thing. The things that I talk about regarding your soul, the things that I talk about that are regarding God's laws and how we are involved with it, how we interact with it, all the things that are happening, because everything that's happening to us is because of God, all of God's laws. So you're driving, you get a flat tire, boom. That is a universal law at play. That's what it is. So if we don't acknowledge this, then we won't know anything. We just think that these things are happening to us and we don't know why. Maybe I was bad. But nothing is designed to condemn us. The only person who is condemning you is you. That's it. So someone can attempt to condemn you, but you don't have to buy into that. There's many times someone has condemned you and you're like, I don't buy into that. It doesn't bother me. And then there's other times where you just fall to pieces because you allowed that to come in. But you have to understand that you allowed that to come in. Now this is going back to the whole unworthy thing and how do you feel worthy? Well, you have to stop with the beliefs that you have already put into yourself. The thing is, once you accept these beliefs by other people and by yourself, because you are the one who allows these things to come in, everything that is within you, you have allowed to come in. A lot of these things come from when you were a child, but you have to understand, give yourself a break here. You have to understand that as a child, you do not have the mental capacity to use discernment or to have any type of knowledge to say, I don't buy into that. You don't have the power or ability as a young human being, a young soul in a body. You don't have the capacity to say, what my mother is doing or what my parents are doing or what my family is doing or what my friends are doing is unloving and I have to reject that because they are dealing with their issues. And this is the only reason why that anything unloving can be projected upon me from another person. You don't have that kind of capacity. And a lot of adults don't have that capacity because they're still operating at childlike state. That's how they're operating. Like they're still in the state of being a child. And so they don't have the consciousness to deal with this. As you grow and learn the things that I'm talking about, you can learn from this. I am not the only source. There's other things that need to be learned in addition to what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about a certain aspect of our being. But there's so much more that needs to be learned. So, how do I start feeling worthy when I've lived a life of complete unworthiness? That's what the question was. I knew that was a cop back there. They have these unmarked cars now. They're like Chargers. I think they're Chargers. Hiding. You know why they? They're used to. You know what? These people. Anytime the public gets more savvy, more aware, gains more consciousness, darkness has to change their game up. They just have to. In order to do what they do, they have to change their game up. Because darkness is all about catching someone slipping. That's all it is. And that applies to everything in your life. That's with everything in your life. Darkness is waiting to catch you slipping. This is why you must be conscious at all times. Conscious of what you're doing, conscious of what other people are doing. Everything. You must be aware. It is not a lot of work. It's not. In the beginning, it is a lot of work. I can say that. I'll say that. In the beginning, it's a lot of work to get to the point where it doesn't seem like a lot of work. The thing is, people are so conditioned to not being aware. People are trained from a child to not be conscious of anything, but to simply do things that they are told. That's not being conscious. That's allowing other people to think for you. Therefore, you don't have to use your brain. This way, you don't have to use a discernment. So, it takes a while to get away from that, but as you start doing it, it becomes automatic, just like it was automatic for you to be unconscious. It's no different, but it takes a little work in the beginning. But you have to be devoted to being aware, being conscious. And that before you know it, it's the only thing you have. It's almost like you can't be unconscious because you're aware of everything. So, oh God, skunk. Put my hair on 1 second. All right. So how do you become worthy or make yourself feel? I don't know if they said make myself feel worthy or how do I become worthy? Well, it all starts with your beliefs. The beliefs that you hold are the ones that have allowed you to feel as if you are unworthy. The beliefs that you hold are the things that you have accepted within your soul that allow you and others to create this whirlwind of nonsense. It's not really nonsense, but it feels like nonsense. It's actually a beautiful system. Let me see. You swoop up on the po-po. Swoop up on the po-po. You have to get rid of these beliefs. These feelings that you have, these emotions that you have that say that what someone else is saying is coming from a higher authority. What someone else is saying, what I think someone else is thinking, all of this creates this feeling of unworthiness. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks or says. I guarantee you, if someone is saying something negative about you, then they're jacked up themselves. Because if you're in a place where you know yourself, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't talk about anybody. You wouldn't point out their faults. You just wouldn't. And leave it there. Let me say, you wouldn't point out their faults and leave it there. If you're in a loving place, you would explain to them what's going on and show them how to fix it, which is what I do. Every time I talk about something, I empower people to understand themselves. I don't just say what you're doing wrong and leave it at that. That's not what I do. That doesn't even resonate with me, and it makes me cringe at the idea of doing something like that. So, understand that everything that you hold within yourself is why you're feeling the way you're feeling. So you have to change yourself, your view, your beliefs about everything. Everything that is unloving. Everything that is unloving must change. I don't feel good enough. Well, of course you're good enough. Everyone is good enough. Everyone is great. Everyone is fantastic. But they have these beliefs that they hold within themselves that say, I'm not. And sometimes it's not even in the head. It's just something that they feel. They feel it. They feel like I'm not good enough. They feel like I'm not pretty enough. They feel like I can't do this. But all of these things come from years and years and years of accepting someone else's idea as your own. If you are unworthy, or I should say, sorry, if you feel that you are unworthy, that is not you. You didn't come into the world feeling unworthy. You did not. When you started interacting with people, that is when it started. When you come into the world, you have this amazing feeling of joy until you start interacting with people. And sometimes it could be your parents. But if you were left alone, here's the thing, because like I said before, when we are conceived, we get all of the nonsense, all of the hurt, all of the pain, all of the emotional injuries, and all the good things from our parents. They are transferred into us. But there's no reason for you to feel anything that is unloving, because the only way you can feel that is by interacting with people. That's the only way, because that which dwells inside of us. Shoot, now it's hot in here and the air is on. This light. This light. Everything that dwells inside of us causes an effect. And So if you don't have that interaction with someone, then they cannot be the mirror for you to recognize what's unloving within you. So all these things that were unloving within you are the cause of all your negative, or what you would perceive as negative interactions. Nothing is really negative. It's just pain. That's what it is. And if you don't want the pain, you are the one that's attracting it to you. You are the magnet for it. So this is how you start becoming, I don't think this is going to work today. I don't know if there's traffic, but these cars are just going slow. So you have to start recognizing what's inside of you first if you want to change the feeling of unworthiness. If you want to feel like you're worthy, then you have to look at yourself first. It doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. Everybody else is simply responding to you. That's what they're doing. Yep, I'm going to do it. Woo-hoo. Everyone is responding to you. So if you have an abusive, or you're in an abusive relationship, that person is responding to you. If you have people that you interact with and they're negative, or they're telling you things that make you feel like less than, they are responding to you. If you have friends who are uplifting and positive and try to help you, that's because they're responding to what dwells within you. Everything that you've experienced, what you consider good or bad, is a response to you. That's it. It shows you the balance that you have within yourself. That's what this is doing. That's what life does. Is life in physical form and in the spirit world, but mainly on this earth, on this planet, earthly plane. The reason why this is such a great place is because it shows you the balance that is within you. It shows you where you are on that scale of loving and unloving, love and the lack of it. That's what this world shows us, all of us. So if people are experiencing a lot of negative things, then that's because they lean more towards the side of unloving things within their soul. They've allowed so much hatred and unloving things to be absorbed into their soul. They've taken on not only what their parents have given them, but they've taken on what other people have said to them, and they've interpreted it in a way, and now it's a negative, and now they hold it within themselves, and it's all unloving. That's all it is. So if you want to change that, then sometimes these people, they'll have a glimpse of people trying to help them, and they can't see it. Some people can't see the help. Some people can't see or feel the love because they've cut themselves off, and they focus so much on just the negative things that they cannot accept the fact that something is positive within them. I mean, I've interacted with people over the course of my life where they were just really depressed, and I'm like, no, you're this, you're that, you're great, and they're like, no, I'm not. Even though I was showing them as a mirror all of the greatness that they hold within them, they could not acknowledge this at all. There's nothing within them that allowed this to happen. Nothing. And the reason why is because they were so focused on all the negative things that have transpired in their life. So they weren't able to see the goodness that dwelled within them. Listen, you cannot experience anything good if it is not within you. You cannot experience anything that is loving if it's not within you. And so when we're hearing the teachings of law of attraction, they always focus on the negative. Well, if it's negative, it's because it's in you and you attracted it. Oh, it's because, you have it within you. You're just a magnet for this because this is what you hold within you. But all of the good things that happen to us, and there's actually more good things that happen to us in our lives than bad things. There are more good things that happen in our lives than bad things. Really think about what goes on in your daily life. How many people go to work and accomplish what they want to accomplish and they go home? How many people have great conversations with their coworkers or family members? How many people have positive interactions with strangers? Really? How many people are driving and the guy sees your signal and lets you get in versus the person who doesn't want to let you in? All of these things we overlook. We just don't acknowledge it because human beings love to focus on all the negative things that happen in their life, but they will not acknowledge the positive. And anytime you bring it up, they're like, eh. Eh. They're not having it. And then they blame the world. They really blame the world. They blame everybody else. It's because the world is this, people are this, and people are that. And they're not acknowledging what's happening in their own world. Their own experience. They won't acknowledge everything that's happening within it. But something bad happens, and they hone in on it like a hawk. They won't let it go. Even if it passes, they still won't let it go. So this is how you attempt to focus on the things that are positive so that you start feeling worthy. There's nothing about you was unworthy. Everything about you was worthy. You're worthy of all good things. But you choose not to believe that because you're focusing on all the negative things. But all the negative things that you are experiencing, you are causing or calling to you because it dwells within you. The system that we live in, God's laws, are letting you know that, hey, you have something unloving within you, and that's not your original program. So if you don't like it, if you don't like what you're feeling, then you need to make different choices. And the choices that need to be made are the thoughts about yourself, the thoughts about other people. This is what changes everything. It's not really much about physical action. It's about you and what's going on in your mind. Oh, shoot. Oh. I forgot I'm going to a new location, so I was like lost. Which I totally forgot when I left this morning that I need to leave a little earlier because it's a little farther out. So yeah, I was thinking I was going to the old place. Anyway, yeah. So let me see. So start changing the way you think. Stop focusing on the negative things that are, acknowledge them. I'm not saying ignore them. Acknowledge the pain that you're experiencing. Acknowledge the pain that you are experiencing. But don't focus on it to the point where that's the only thing you can think about. When you acknowledge the pain, you're acknowledging that there is something. Okay, so here you go. When you experience pain, acknowledge the pain. Be conscious of it. Be mindful of it. And once you acknowledge that it's there, understand that there is something within you that's causing the pain. There is something within you that is calling this experience to you. Of course, it's going to be difficult because if someone is doing something to you, you're going to focus on them and they're going to become the a-hole right away. They're going to become the broken person right away. Don't try to figure anybody else out. You hear me? Don't try to figure other people out. You're wasting your time. You have no control over the other person. And we're trying to change your experience. Your experience is not dependent upon how other people act. Because if you, let's just say that you do bring the negativity that this person is doing to their attention, right? And they catch themselves. And then they stop doing it. What you have done is healed that person. But you have not healed yourself. So that just means that there's going to be another individual that the universe is going to bring to you that's going to give you some more abuse because you've affected the effect that was being presented to you to let you know that there's something unloving within you. This is why I leave people alone. I leave them alone for the most part. But if I do engage with people, there is no judgment. No judgment. There is, I don't condemn them. I don't do any of that. I may bring something to their attention, but I will not condemn them for it. There is a difference. I'm not saying that they're the a-hole. I'm not saying that they're being bad. I'm not saying that anything that's negative. I'm not trying to do that. That's not my goal. Now, if they feel that way, that has nothing to do with me. that is their interpretation of it. I know what my intent is, and the Creator knows what my intent is. And if there's nothing malice in my intent, then I cannot be penalized for it. And if I do realize that I have, let's say, hurt the feelings of someone else, like even though it's their interpretation of it, I can acknowledge that, and I can say to them that that was not my intention, and I do apologize if I have done that. So I'm asking for forgiveness, but I'm also forgiving myself for doing that. And there's no karma involved in that. So when you're in this effort to, I think I should get off here. In the effort to improve your feeling of self-worth, this is what you have to do. You have to focus on yourself. So when you acknowledge the pain, like I was saying, just acknowledge that it's there. Understand that it's there. And understand that it's within you. And so, like I said, don't focus on the other person. Look, you don't have time for that right now. You don't have time for that right now. Self-love must be the first love. Self-love must be the first love. Self-love must be the first love. It has to be the first. It just has to. Because once you have self-love, then you have it within yourself to love others in a way that is truly loving. Not just actions, but there's intent behind it. There's understanding behind it. There's compassion behind it. See, the difference is when you're feeling like everyone is just abusing you and treating you badly, there is a condemnation that is there. There's a judgment that is present. And there's a dislike for that person for doing it. And there are penalties for this. There are penalties for this. There's penalty for judgment. And this is where the karma comes in. This is when you get people who judge you. This is how you get all this stuff that that the universe is able to bring to you because of what you're creating. You started it. You started the judgment, so it's going to come to you. And that is of your own. That's what you are conscious of. We're not talking about the things that you're unconscious of. Because the things that you're unconscious of is what's bringing you the pain that you can't understand why it's being brought to you. All of these things are unconscious. Or I should say, all these things you are unconscious of. Which is why you're asking the question, why are these things happening to me? Anytime you ask, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why does this keep happening to me? Why do people keep doing this to me? It's because you're unconscious of the cause. And sometimes you're unconscious of what you're consciously doing. Which is a double mess. It is a double mess. It's like a double whammy. It's like I'm paying because it's almost like I'm paying for things that I don't know dwell within me, and I'm paying for things that I'm doing consciously. Because you are consciously hating someone. Like, you know you're hating someone. You know of it. You just don't know of what's happening because of it. So there's a whole there's a whole lot. But listen. This stuff doesn't matter if you work and focus on yourself. If you're not focusing on anyone else, then you don't have time to judge anyone else. Because now you're realizing that you are the cause of it. Right? So if you cut your finger and you experience that pain, the only reason why and the only way you can experience that pain is I'm sorry, I got distracted. I was trying to see if there were cars up here, and I want to stop on the line. The little round circles. No, please. Yes! Yes! I like to sit on the little sensor to make the arrow. And it looks like I needed it as slow as this person is turning. Good Lord. Alright. No, don't try to speed up now. Oh my gosh, I forgot what I was saying at the end there. But I think you got the gist of it. Focus on yourself. Focus on what you're doing. You won't have time for anything else. You just won't. Trust me, you won't. Trust me. Or you don't have to trust me. But if you know me, you would probably trust me. I'm telling you the truth. I am not lying to you. If you focus on yourself and what's happening and understand that there's something within you that's bringing everything to you, you can fix all of this. All of it. And things will start to happen. Things will start to change in your life. And the truth. Here's the thing. And I should make a video of this. Divine truth. What's the difference between personal truth and divine truth? Divine truth, absolute truth, which is what I'm talking about right now, will always reveal your fears. They will always reveal the errors that are within your soul. So things will start changing in a manner that you will be fearful of. So if you're in an abusive relationship and things start going sideways where there's going to be a split, you can become fearful and hang on to that very thing that the universe is trying to take away from you because it's abusive. So if you have a partner who is abusive and you start working on yourself and then you start pulling away and you sense it and you have this idea that you have to make the relationship work, you are going against yourself. And this is going to create fear, because if one of your fears is that you don't want to be alone, then you will do everything in your power to keep that abusive person within your life. So when you operate from divine truth, divine love, it will expose all of your fears. All right? Remember that. So have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you later. And always remember, you are loved. Bye now. Okay, I'm back. I wasn't planning on it, but I'm back. Because there were some things that I wanted to talk about in terms of how to start feeling worthy. And so I had listened to my video, and there were some things that I wanted to say, because like I said, this video was actually in response to a question. So I wanted to make sure that I'm putting enough information in there where the person can just take it and move forward with it. And at the end of the video, I was talking about that there's going to be some changes when you start recognizing yourself and loving yourself. When you start doing this, there are going to be some changes, and they're going to happen automatically. And some of the things you may not be ready for. And the only reason why you wouldn't be ready for it, or you feel you wouldn't be ready for it, is because of your level of self-love. Sometimes what we do in efforts to start this process of self-love is we move forward with it full steam ahead. And what we're doing consciously doesn't really line up with what our beliefs are about ourselves. So we can start speaking our truth, and but yet what we hold within ourselves isn't in alignment with that. So you can say, I love myself, but if you still have doubt about yourself, then you're not in alignment with the truth that you speak. And this is the first step of recognizing what your truth really is. Because at that moment, what you're recognizing is that your truth really is doubt. That's what your truth is in that moment. That is something that needs to be recognized. It's very important. This is acknowledging your truth so that you can speak your truth. Look, people do affirmations all the time to try to tell themselves that they're this, that, and the other, because that's where they want to get to. And that's completely understandable. I recognize that. But what happens is they don't believe what they're saying. They just don't. Because it's not their truth. Their truth is they don't feel worthy of the words that they're trying to convince themselves of. If they felt that, then they wouldn't need to attempt to tell themselves that they are great, that they are magnificent, that they are worthy. Look, don't try it. Look, there's a police right here. I'm a tail. I'm a tail. Don't think I won't stop and say, look, you see this person? They're trying to run me off the road. I'm a tail. Anyway, oh, that's just not cool, especially in the tunnel. So understand that this is part of the process, or a potential, because this may not happen with everyone, but it is a possibility. Because if you've had years of not feeling worthy, telling yourself that you're worthy when that's truly not your truth, it's going to feel awkward. And here's the thing. If you have an abusive partner or an abusive family member or an abusive friend or whomever, it doesn't matter who it is. If they are abusive, part of speaking your truth is acknowledging how you're being treated. Acknowledging that the other person is doing what it is that they're doing. So if someone is being abusive and they're degrading you, speaking your truth is basically saying, hey, do you know when you say these things, I feel this way? That's speaking your truth, because you truly are feeling however you're feeling when they make comments about you. That's speaking your truth. And so when you're speaking your truth, you're speaking it to them, and you allow them to understand what it is, the power of their words. Now, you also have to understand that you are perceiving this in a way that it is affecting you. So not only does the other person have to recognize what they do or what they are doing, you also have to recognize that you hold something within yourself that even allows this feeling of pain to even be had. Because people can say things about me and I don't have to buy into it, meaning someone can say that I'm this. Look, people say things to me all the time. When they don't like what I say, they say things to me all the time. And it doesn't bother me. Like, I understand. See, I personally understand where their anger is coming from. I understand that. Now, I can see if I was speaking my personal truth, but generally lately I have not been speaking my personal truth. There's nothing that I really need to say to anybody at this moment in time. So what I do is I speak the absolute truth. The absolute truth that I even have to live by. It's a difference. There's a difference when there's a personal truth and an absolute truth. There is a huge difference. I have opinions about things that are different than absolute truth. I hope I'm on the right freeway. So I think I really do need to do a video about that. So understand when you are trying to find this place of self-worth, of worthiness, speaking your truth is part of it. But also understand that the person who is saying things to you that is being abusive, they are coming from a dark place. Understand this. So when you do speak your truth, they are not going to want to acknowledge this. They will deflect, and they'll come up with something, and how you're going to feel is how they're going to make you feel if they do not acknowledge what they're doing. Is they'll point out something that will be considered a flaw in you. They'll point out what they think is a fault in you. But understand that this is deflection. So when you speak your truth, when it is truth that is being spoken without judgment, you're not saying that they're bad. You're not criticizing them for anything. What you're saying simply is, do you know I feel this way when you say these things? Listen to what I just said, because I'm not condemning anybody for anything. All I'm saying is, do you understand when you say this X, Y, and Z to me, I feel this way? All you're doing is informing them. Now, if they can't acknowledge this because of how deeply rooted their pain is, they will then get angry. Suppression of emotion or suppression of pain will cause anger. And so if you are bringing to their attention that they are causing pain, they don't want to take responsibility. But if they are already abusing you, then they're already not taking responsibility. So this is a pattern that you need to look for if this happens. Be aware of it. Now, I can't say don't allow this to happen to you. I can't say don't allow this person to kick you out of speaking your truth. I can't say that because your experience is going to be your experience. And depending on you loving yourself, you're either going to stand your ground on this or you're going to give in. And if you stand your ground, then understand that you are loving yourself. Now, I'm not saying argue. I'm not saying fight. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying stand your ground, meaning what you say is what you say and that is it. Because you weren't doing anything that was unloving other than letting the person know how their words are making you feel, all right? And once you do that, you're done. You're done. You are done. Once you speak your truth, you're done. You don't have to keep speaking your truth. If they're not accepting of their part in your pain, then you have your answer. Then you have your answer. What is the answer? That the person is not in a place where they are able to love you. And the reason why they're not in that place is because they're not in a place to love themselves. And this is all you need to know. This is all you need to know. Because now you know that everything that comes from them from this point forward, you have a true understanding here. Everything that happens from this point forward, you already know it's not going to come from a loving place. Because there's too much pain within that person to even love you. They can't even love themselves and say, you know what? I do acknowledge that these things are happening. And I do acknowledge that the reason why I'm doing it is because I'm in pain. You see, you don't need to argue to have understanding. You don't need to force anybody. You don't need to force anybody to understand anything in order for you to understand. That's all you need to do is you are the only one who needs to understand here. That's it. Nobody else has to understand anything, because once you understand, now you can make choices and decisions in your life. You can use discernment and move forward in a different direction than the direction you have been moving in, which was allowing this pain to even come to you. Once you acknowledge that you are with someone who is abusive and they do not care, the next step is yours. The next step is yours. So you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do with your life? If you know that you're not receiving love, what are you going to do now? Because the next step really has everything to do with your self-love. That's what the next step is. Where do you stand in your self-love? Do you love yourself to put yourself in a position where you don't experience this abuse anymore? Or don't you love yourself and you stay in a position where you're going to be abused? The next move is your move, and all of it has to do with the self-love that you have for yourself or you don't have for yourself. Self-love is always about self. Always. Always. It's the first one you should only care about is your self-love. Even before your children, you should have self-love. It sounds strange. I know it does. But check this out. If you do not love yourself, that means that you're holding in pain and there's anger there. So that means that at any given time, when you're not conscious, that hurt, that pain, that anger can be projected towards your children. This is why I say self-love is the first love. It is of the utmost importance. It is of the utmost importance. I'm going to go over here because that looks kind of long. That line is already backing up. So love yourself first, even before your children, because once you start loving yourself, the love for your children is automatic. You don't have to force it. You don't have to try. It's just there. And it's going to happen naturally without any effort at all. It just flows. The love just flows. You don't have to work on it. You don't have to work on treating your kids better. You don't have to work on communicating with your children better. You don't have to worry or work on the things that you say, because once you have self-love, all of that stuff is automatic. And this is what I mean by you cannot love if you don't have love within yourself. Because if you don't have love within yourself, you are constantly going to have to monitor yourself. Why? Because automatically these things that are unloving are going to come out. This is why parents have to monitor all the things that they say around their children. Because they have so much unloving things within themselves, they have to always be mindful of what they're saying. Who's around? The kids around, we can't talk about this. Talk about what? Unloving things? Well, where's that coming from? Well, it's coming from you. So now you're trying to censor yourself so that your children don't hear any of these unloving things that are automatically coming out of you. So this is why it's so important to love yourself first. Because the love that you have for yourself is going to automatically flow into your children's lives, into the lives of your family, and the lives of your friends, into the lives of strangers. It just flows. It's automatic. Just like the unloving things are automatic, the love will be automatic. Gosh, it's such a beautiful process when you get a hold of it and you understand it. It is effortless once you know it. It doesn't take that long, though. It really does not take that long to get to that place. It may seem like you have a lot of work to do, but you will be surprised of your ability, your capacity to understand how the system works. Everyone has a capacity to understand this. It doesn't matter if you have a disability, a mental illness. The capacity for love is there. There's individuals who don't even know how to communicate verbally, yet they just have love within them. Because the capacity is within every single human being. Every single soul, the capacity for love is there. So it's not like it's this elusive thing. It's far, far away and there's a lot of work to get there. It seems like that. It really does. But with anything that you have never attempted to do, it seems difficult at first. But once you get the hang of it, you got the hang of it. And it's simply part of you now. And you can do it effortlessly without any thought. Without any thought. Think about driving. When you wanted to drive, if you do drive, some people don't drive. And one of them, and this kind of proves my point. Before you learned how to drive, you were nervous. You didn't know what to do. You were learning. There was a learning curve. But once you got the hang of it, you don't even think about it. You get in, turn the key, or push the button and go. You don't think about it at all. You can even eat, talk on the phone, do other things while you're driving because you're so good at it. But there was this one point in your life where you weren't so sure. And even if you thought that you have this down packed, no problem, and it was your first time, and then you get in the car, and you're like, brake gas, right? Both feet on the pedal, doing all kinds of things that were not going to get you to where you wanted to go safely and quickly. So there was a learning curve. So there are people who are afraid of embarking upon this journey, and there are people who think they have this shit figured out. But once you start doing it, you come to realize that there's some things that you need to learn. But once you get the hang of it, whether or not your ego is so big and you think you got it, or you think you're not able to do it at all, you're able to do it. You're just able to do it. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. I don't even know if YouTube will allow this video to be uploaded, because every time I try to upload, they're like, it was over 60 minutes, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I hope this gave more clarity than I did from this morning. So again, have a great week, and remember that you are loved always. Bye now.